Rock and roll is and should be a kid's place. Every child has this innocent lack of self-awareness, a quality considered either admirable or a nuisance to those around them, and this was a very prominent quality of mine when I was younger. I probably fell more on the nuisance side of that spectrum because being socially inept isn't really admirable when you have full access to a drum kit and you're in front of an entire crowd of people. In the summer of 2015, being in my first band and playing some really awful music was when I consider myself to be at my best. Girls Rock and Roll Retreat was a summer camp unlike most. Yes, it was actually called that, and no, I'm not surprised I'm talking about this either. At the end of this class, my only personality trait to you people are going to be what music I like. I had very large dreams of being a famous drummer and traveling around in different bands, and I wanted to be just like Trey Cool from Green Day, believe it or not. And this camp was a camp that catered just to that, because what could be better than learning about punk rock history, women's rights, and being prepared to perform in front of a crowd at the end of it all. The main gist of the camp was that you wrote a bit about yourself and about your music taste, and you got randomly assigned to a group of girls, and you practiced together until you had a playable song at the end of it all. To no one's surprise, it was incredibly awkward. We all fumbled around with instruments that we had never picked up before, and these super awkward teenage instructors were trying to write lyrics for us, completely fruitless, by the way. It was awful. I cannot stress that enough. The music was so bad. We got through it at the end. We had a fully playable song by the end, and we grew an incredible bond with one another, and I actually stayed in contact with them up to a year after that camp had ended. And I could feel myself stepping closer and closer to a defining moment in my life where I would consider myself at my best. On the final day, our entire posse of amateur Joan Jets trekked all the way over to an Irish pub that was about 2 blocks away in the middle of Minneapolis. And we walked in to set up, and the regulars there, their faces just dropped. They were terrified of us. They knew exactly what was about to come. Some of them filed out as soon as they paid their bar tab. They did not come back. But lucky for us, those spots were eventually filled by family members and friends of the girls surrounding me, so it wasn't an empty bar, thank God. I'm not sure what I was expecting out of all of this, but I do remember this innate adrenaline that was kind of coursing through me because I knew what was coming. But nowadays, I would probably be one of the evacuating regulars. After sitting through some songs, our band was finally called for the set. We waited eagerly in this tiny little gig room for the previous band to finish their song. We scurried out as soon as they got back. We were so excited and so young and so filled with joy because we did not understand how bad we were. Poor parents. We finally scurried on stage, and we were blinded by these colorful lights and cramped together in this stupid small stage that probably costed them maybe $500 to install. It was so small and run down. I knew that only local bands had ever played on this thing. We weren't very big. We were maybe 5th graders, this big, little girls, and we were still so close together. The drum kit actually had to be raised so that the rest of the band could be around it, just so that the entire band could fit onto it. And so our instructors made sure that we got set up without dying. Incredible effort on their part. And there we were with all our glory. 2 tone-deaf singers, one of which was a hyperactive guitarist with probably undiagnosed ADHD of some kind. She was bouncing off the walls. We had a pianist that only knew how to play major chords. That was fun. And we had a bassist that did not play, and I know a lot of people think bassists don't make that much of a difference, but they do make a lot of a difference when you realize that there's no bass. And finally, me at the drum kit, having no idea how to count a rhythm, and I still don't, fun fact about me. We were god-awful. And to our credit, we did have the time of our lives up there, and I knew that the families waiting for us didn't have high hopes for us either. And I drummed my little heart out. I nearly broke my bass pedal, and I hit the crash cymbal as hard as I physically could with my tiny little twig arms. And that was the moment I knew, looking out on a faceless crowd, on a small rundown stage, I was at my personal best. Although this moment in time was seen as a cringy coming-of-age moment, the summer of 2015 was truly when I found a small piece of myself and saw myself at my own innocent personal best. I hope I can make younger me proud by finding that personal best in everything that I do today. Thank you for listening to my speech.